What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel and to my Team of the Week prediction series. Now, with the actual players in mind, it's looking to be a pretty solid team once again, and actually as per. I'd say that a lot of the teams recently in the last few weeks have been worthy of maybe playing the FUT Champs games and maybe going through that bit of stress. I'd be inclined to say that there are actually some potentially amazing features in the team once again. And anyways, just before we get on with the actual team, as always, I'd like to say that if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, and you are fond of this kind of FIFA content, drop a like on the video, show your support, and do subscribe with post notifications on, so you don't miss any videos when I post them. And whilst you're there, feel free to comment down below in the comment section with both your thoughts and opinions on the series as usual, as well as maybe any players you'd expect to see in the squad, maybe players that I've missed out on. With that all being said and the intro fully out the way, we'll move on to the actual players in mind then. Starting with a select few benched players, with a second in form Spaniard, Blanco, as the goalkeeper, Apara in the MLS, Luke Ayling of Leeds United, Sanson and Quagliarella. Now, Apara, as you can see, is insanely quick for a centre-back, as he has been since forever, for as long as I can imagine. And he is usually a silver though, so he won't be the most usable card, and considering that he is, an off-league and an off-nation, you're not really going to be too happy with actually backing him. Either way, I thought I'd actually put him in the team, as he does deserve to be in the squad for his most recent performance, and considering how fast he is and the fact that, he is a pretty well-known player, I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy feature. Sanson, as one of the most standout players in this team for Marseille, is a pretty interesting one, I'd say. For where he got himself a goal and an assist in their most recent game, his side still managed to fall to a draw in the end with Amiens, I believe, where the match performance of an 8.5 near enough just didn't cut it. Though he could feature in the squad just for this performance and that alone, and the fact that he does have a headliners card, it could potentially sway their decision to include him in the team. And Quagliarella as the second more interesting player on the bench, he did manage to bag himself a goal, a brace should I say, to win the match for his side, and that alone often does cut it, and they managed to feature into the team. This guy is obviously a top performer for his side, and he has been for the last 2-3 seasons now, and I do believe he's quite an old player, and that really doesn't seem to stop him by the looks of it, as he did manage to bag the brace and does deserve to be in this team. We'll move away from the bench players because they're not actually always that exciting, and I did obviously brush past a couple of them as I'm in a bit of a rush with this video, as actually I am pretty excited to play the new Warzone on Modern Warfare. Anyways, I know that's not what you're interested in. You're interested in these cards, and as we move on to the starting 11 with the goalkeeper spot being Bernd Leno of Arsenal. Now, the German international shortstopper does tend to split people's opinions a lot of the time. I personally think he's one of the better Prem keepers, and for the most part he has saved Arsenal more than he should have to in a season. This time around he did make 6 or 7 saves in a pretty important 1-0 win over West Ham. I believe that it was Lacazette who grabbed the winner late on in the match, but with his recent form and the fact that he's not been too great for Arsenal this season, if an Arsenal player does manage to feature in this team, it will be their man of the match, Leno. Onto the defence, up next, and just in front with Dumfries, Sydney of Real Betis, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka of Manchester United. The Dutch fullback on screen, as shown, did work to a solid 8.0 rating, which doesn't sound the highest, but considering that he did keep a clean sheet and eventually score the only goal in this match to get the win for his side, PSV that is, he probably does deserve to be in the team for that alone. And like I said, the clean sheet does always help, because maybe if he just scored a goal and the game was 2-1, maybe he doesn't feature. I do feel like he will come into this team, but considering that he already has a dynamic special card, I believe, at Road to Final maybe, is a huge possibility that this guy doesn't end up featuring in the team. And I did actually see that there was a couple of other Eredivisie Dutch defenders that played quite well throughout the week. So if it's not Dumfries, he still might be able to get those links depending on if the player is actually any good. And to be honest, at this point in the in the game cycle, you're probably not looking for an 82 rated right back anyway. So I'm just going to move on to the next player with Sydney. Now, in their most recent match against Real Madrid, he did see them take all 3 points in a 2-1 win, as Betis' Brazilian centre half, as shown on screen, did bag the winner for himself. that alone, as usual, does probably get him into the team. The winning goal obviously means quite a lot, and against a pretty big team in Real Madrid, it wouldn't be any surprise if he does get chosen, especially with how scarce it is coming across top performing defenders throughout the weeks. And next up, speaking of another top defender, in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, I've not been completely impressed with him, and I guess that kind of goes against a lot of people's opinions, because even now this would be second in form of the year, and to be honest, I think that most Man United fans have been pretty happy with him. He did obviously have a world-class season with Crystal Palace, and the fact that he's so young kind of made them want to buy him as soon as they could. And I'm pretty sure they did pay a big sum for him, so you would be expecting games like this, where against a pretty huge team, you know, Man City, it's not very often you do get the 3 points over them. And to be honest, I have to say, he did win man of the match in their most recent Manchester derby, where United were just so much better and surprisingly ruined City just with ease. He did pocket Sterling the full match, and for that, for me, he does deserve to be in this spot in the team. From this Man United team, though, we could also see the likes of Martial for his goal, or McTominay. However, Martial, I'd say, did have a pretty off game despite scoring, and to be honest, he shouldn't really be in this team, because he should have, you know, buried a lot of his other chances too. With the defence done and out of the way, the midfielders are up next with Alan Saint-Maximin of Newcastle. A lot of people struggle to say his name, but I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but I feel more comfortable saying it that way. Next to Ross Barkley, pretty easy name, and Aaron Ramsey, now of Juventus, of course, and Tadic as a right mid card. Not the most exciting card, but again, a decent rating and won't be the worst red pick in terms of SBC fodder. Now, we'll start with the French winger for Newcastle, as he did eventually win the game for the Geordie side after he netted the one and only goal in this match. Ramsey next was allowed to bury, you know, the on-form Inter side, Inter Milan that is, which is quite a big achievement in itself, I'd say, this season, as they've been very good throughout, where the Welshman did actually score and get an assist in this game to see out their opponents. And I think Juventus overall in this game had a pretty good performance, and if I'm correct, this game was played behind closed doors. No fans were actually in the stadium, which is quite interesting, as I saw a couple of gifs where you see Ronaldo waving to the lack of fans in the stadium. On to Ross Barkley, as a player who's been a little bit hot and cold throughout the season. Towards the start of the season and pre-season, he was one of the best players for the Chelsea side, and I think he kind of dropped off as Mount was, you know, on form. And recently, he's been playing pretty well again. He's got into the first team and he's been playing regularly. And to be honest, for what's seemingly a pretty weak midfield, you know, Gilmour, who honestly is amazing, so fast, so good anyway, and Mason Mount is a weirdly attacking midfield, and it doesn't seem like the most defensively sound midfield three. But either way, Barkley, Mount and Gilmour all played amazing. I feel like Barkley does stand out for me, as he also contributed twice in his game. This time the ex-Everton midfielder did get 2 assists instead of a goal, and that's possibly where we see maybe a Willian come in, where he did get a goal for himself, or even like a Pedro, who also had a really good game. A lot of players did have a very good game, and I'd have to say the defence and the goalkeeper really didn't do too much throughout the entire match, as it was just all goals. And for Dusan Tadic, I don't have much to say about this guy because I don't actually know his stats. However, I did hear a lot about him over Twitter, how he's kind of come back to the form that he was in last year when, you know, Ajax had all their best players. And obviously now that they've not got the best team that they could have had, maybe if they kept the players, Tadic looks like he's still doing pretty well. Weirdly, as a right mid card, I think that's because he did play there for majority of the 90 minutes, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy get a card, especially if he's going to be played out of position. And again, like I said, he's going to be one of those players that you want for a red pick and a red pick only. He's also a decent 86 if he does feature. Finally, with the attacking trio, as we move away from the midfield, I did settle for Sadio MANÉ as probably the most expensive card here, and definitely the most outstanding player, along with Kai Havertz of Leverkusen. No real introduction needed, we all know how good this guy is, and Thorgan Hazard. I guess a guy who's been in the shadow of his big brother, but I'd have to say Thorgan Hazard has been pretty good for Dortmund since he joined. We will start with Hazard, as he did perform to a 8.6 rating in their last game, I believe, as he did score the winning goal in a 2-1 win over Gladbach. He didn't get an assist and it was only one goal contribution, but as he scored the winner and the fact that I think in the last couple of weeks he has also contributed a decent amount, I'd have to say this guy probably will feature. And from what I saw, this guy did play on the left wing, left forward position, and we're probably going to see a left wing card come Wednesday. Next up, there's yet another Bundesliga player, obviously I've just brushed over a second ago, this time with HAVERTZ, for his double goal contribution for Leverkusen, and for what has been just an example of his general form over the past couple of years. If he isn't one of the most highly rated young players in the world at the moment, something's severely wrong. Similarly with MANÉ, though I'd say MANÉ is definitely not a young player and he's probably in his prime ages now, I'd say. And this game had a few ups and downs, as I've just kind of brushed over the Bundesliga game. Either way, the Liverpool game is probably more interesting, as Bournemouth actually went 1-0 up against Liverpool, but eventually would expectedly lose to an impressive MANÉ performance, and that's why I put him in the team, as him, you know, as he eventually did end up earning himself the man of the match in the game, as well as with that the goal and an assist to top it all off. Anyways, I know it's been quick, but I have to get this video out, and that pretty much sums up the team for me. So if you do have any suggestions on players, etc., then feel free to comment and interact with the channel. And why not like the video, as I've said, if you enjoyed the content. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in my next video. Peace.